Dude, Dad, welcome back, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me, Larry.
Oh man, I'm excited to anytime I can talk to the dude dad, interview him and obviously talk about the new cool things you got going on. I welcome that with open arms, man.
Well, I likewise,
Yeah.
likewise.
Hey, well, I just want to I want to start off here with helping the men get to know you who might not know you or at least get some updates from you. Obviously, we had you on the podcast about a year ago, and for we've gotten a lot of new listeners since then. But I would love to just share your story at a high level again of how
Sure.
Dude Dad even came into existence, because I know this wasn't always the plan.
Yeah, man. So I started out as a creator before I was a dad. I always liked making videos, and I was pursuing acting in Los Angeles. And then when my wife got pregnant, I was like, okay, I can't keep chasing this dream realistically, because I need to provide for my family, and the acting stuff just wasn't really consistent enough. So I started Dude Dad never as a way to make money, but really just as a hobby. It was like something that I love to do. And I was like, well, why don't I combine my hobby with fatherhood, and I'll make this thing that can be mine, that that allows me to be creative while being a father. And that's how Dude Dad was born.
That's unreal. And so, did you start with a video? Was that what was your first video?
First video was I put it out 2 weeks before I became a dad, and it was things not to say to your pregnant wife.
Oh my God.
Um, yeah. So at the
Uh,
early stages, it was really just following me as a dad and my experiences, going along with it. And then it's sort of transformed a little bit. There's still a lot of that, but we do a lot more comedy stuff that's more uh that's still parenting based, but sometimes relationship based between me and my wife. As the kids got older, we found it necessary to put less focus on them, because now they're their own people and they have their own personal lives. So we got to be careful about, what we can share about them and how much we focus on them. So we made it more about my wife and I at this point, but we still, it's still about fatherhood.
yeah.
So
When did you realize, or at least have some breadcrumbs of like, you know what? Maybe this is gonna go somewhere.
honestly, fairly early on, we didn't have a good following or anything, but just the comments we were getting from the regular viewers that just really loved what I was doing. Because I was just really trying to be vulnerable about my experience as a father and speaking, my truth that a lot of guys probably don't open up about. And I think that resonated with a lot of people. Well, not really a lot of people at first, a few people, but it was like there was something special about it, because just the comments we were getting and the people that were coming back every single week to just watch the new video, even though there wasn't very many of them, you could tell that there was a passion there, outside of just us.
Did you, not to bring up anything negative, but I am curious. Did you have haters on the comments? Did you have your certain like of guys who were just like, since you're being like, anytime I hear the
Mm,
words, anytime I hear someone say, I'm being open and vulnerable about my experience in anything, it could be fitness, it could be
yeah,
finances, it could be marriage, it could be parenting or whatever. You're always, I always joke with, so we have like 100,000 followers now on Instagram. And my son will always be like, do you get any haters? I'm like, yeah, it's like 90-10. It's like 10%,
yeah,
haters, 90% love. I was like, but there's always going to be haters. And in fact, I think if you're not, if you don't have at least some, like if you have more than the lover, you probably got a problem. But
yeah,
if you don't have any that are pushing back, chances are you might not be pushing the envelope hard enough,
yeah,
and maybe getting people to stop their normal pattern of thinking and think for a moment differently about something. But what's been your experience?
yeah, yeah. No, I definitely have some. Um, I wouldn't say it a lot though. Um, I don't know. It's we don't. I don't. I try not to pay too much attention to them, but they're definitely
Right.
in there. I think there's definitely a certain type of men that can't that don't know what to do with me, right? Because like they see me putting a wig on and pretending to be my wife, and that's like this whole vibe for them. But then in the next video, I'm like renovating my house and making a kick-ass porch, and they're like, wait, hold on. you know, so that I don't know. There's definitely some that just are that don't get it or whatever, or are threatened by it or whatever. You usually will get like the real nasty ones will come in like a message, and it'll be like just a couple word message that's just like, you know, like just like something really blunt, like you're a loser or something, and you're just like, what? Oh,
Yeah,
all
man.
right. But 9 times out of 10, when I like interact with those people, they'll turn around. They'll like
Yeah.
completely change because they'll be like I've had times when people have said the nastiest things, and I respond to them, and then they respond back and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I never thought you'd respond. I'm a huge fan." And I'm like, "You just called me an idiot." Like,
Oh my gosh,
it's
that's
wild.
hilarious, man. Yeah, I had an experience. We have a free we have a free training that helps you basically reconnect with your wife.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's super easy. It's basically like one of them. We have a handful of them, but one of them in particular it's called the partnership booster. It's just a PDF. It's just a way that a guy can read this PDF, and it's a really quick read, and it's a way that they can then take some of the questions that are generative in nature, connecting in nature, and then they can go ask and start a conversation with their wife that's elevated versus flat or de-escalated, right? And
Yeah.
so, this guy, on a social media post, he asked for it. Like, we're like, hey, we just did this free training. If you want a copy, let me know. And then he asked for it. And then we sent it to him in a DM. And his response was, I've never gotten this response, but it was so funny. It was just like, dude, I bet I know 10x more about how to be happy and 10x more about how to make others happy than you do. And
Clearly.
yeah, right. And normally I don't even respond to that. Like, I'm
Yeah.
whatever, man. Like, but I went to this guy's profile, and clearly, like, it, his comment fit the profile that I saw. And I don't know, I was just in a fiery mood that day, and I responded back to him. I was like, I think the last time I heard an insult like this was when I was in third grade on the playground, and someone told me their bike was better than mine. And I
Yeah.
just left it at that. And the guy, of course, jumped back, and he was just like, "Are you done flexing your ego now?" I'm like, "Oh my god!" I just like delete, gone, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like, man, it's like no matter how often you try to put some good in the world, somebody's gonna try to stomp on it. That's okay. That's their job. But
It's a daily thing though, like to get good at knowing what to do with that negative energy, because
yeah,
anytime you're putting yourself out there this much, you're gonna get a certain dosage of negative energy coming
yeah,
at you, and understanding just like how to take that in and process it and flush it out or whatever. Because as much as we say it doesn't, there's still those little comments that people say, whether childish or not, that still like get under your skin in a little
sure,
way. And if you don't
yeah.
have a way to like, you know, uh flush those out, or detox yourself from those, like they still like there's those little zingers that people say that just get at you.
You know what I've noticed about this though, and I'm sure I know your oldest is 7, but my oldest is 17, and so kids can be cruel to each other and that kind of thing, but it's
Yeah.
really given me a lot of tough skin, and I always say to myself that the way somebody is operating, it makes total sense to them, and it's just the way that they're operating. It really doesn't have any much to do with me. And my oldest, it's fascinating. He's going through this thing right now where he's in marching band. He plays saxophone. And I'm not trying to stereotype, kids who are in marching band, or kids who are in football, or kids who are doing this or kids who are doing that. But my son goes to a very big high school, and he's in marching band. And this year he decided, he's like, you know what, I'm going to go out for the wrestling team. And he did it. And he actually did pretty darn well. And it's fascinating because like the wrestling team is like, dude, you wrestle and you know how to play the saxophone? That's awesome, right? And here's the
Yeah.
crazy thing, the way the marching band people have now treated, because he was really tight with a lot of the kids, and now they're like, you're a wrestler. Like, you just think you're too good for all of us now? Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You're not you and basically have kind of like given him the shoulder a little bit. And he's like, Dad, he's like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is really kind of disheartening. Like, I actually expected the opposite. I expected these wrestlers to push me out because I was in marching band, not the other way around. And I told him, I was like, you know what, Ethan? I was like, when it comes to life, man, if you are doing something that maybe other people wish that they could, or they see you doing something that they're reminded that they're not, and maybe there's a part of them that's like, man, I wish I was brave enough to go do that, or I wish I could do that, or whatever. You are then, every time they see you, you are then a reminder of perhaps maybe what they're not, and you're going to emerge some insecurities in other people. Just know that it really doesn't have anything to do with you, and it has a lot to do with where they're at, and if you can somehow, some way encourage them, be empathetic where they're at, right? Encourage them, and just keep being that beacon, keep being that shining example. Cause I guarantee the people that are kind of giving you crap might you might cross their path in like 5 to 10 years and be like, dude, you know what? I kind of said these things to you, but you were inspiring to me, or you did this for me, right? And some, just keep that light shining, kind of like what you have done with Dude Dad, right? I look at your videos, I follow everything that you do. And being a dad is very, very tough at times. It's very fulfilling, but very tough. And when you make your videos, it reminds me of the joy, the sense of humor, the fun that we could have, how we can be even use self-deprecating humor, right? To have more fun with it.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you're doing this, man. I almost can't see the world without Dude Dad. Like, every time you
No.
post a new video, I'm like, oh, sweet. I'm really in the mood for a new video. I need one right now. So I just love what you're doing.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Um, yeah, that means a lot. I mean, I think that's the whole idea, is to just kind of like be a happy little place in the corner of the internet, and put out good vibes. But sometimes we put out, I not always, like this last video is Kelso's birth video. Good vibes, but also just like very scary. So we just had our fourth child. Um, and my wife the whole time, like, it's really funny how this all goes down, right? Like, you always say that after you've had one kid, and you hear people like making their birth plans and stuff, and you're like,
Right.
okay, just chill out on that, because you don't really get to plan anything. And we knew that, and my wife said over and over again, she's like, this one's going to be fast, this one's going to be fast, because the last one was pretty fast, and now it's the fourth one. And she was right on that, but we still like practice all this stuff, and she talked about how she wants to, like, spend some time on the yoga ball, and she doesn't want to birth on her back this time, and this and that. Gets to you know, due date. Due date goes by. 4 days later, she finally goes into labor. In, like, it's always after midnight. It's like, it's always when when you should be going to bed is when you got to start the whole process. But anyway, so she goes into labor. Less than an hour later, we have a baby. Like,
That's
we
the
got to
hour.
the, yeah, less
She
than an hour.
That's
Like,
pushing the envelope.
we're like sitting at home, and she's like, yeah, these are contractions, but she's being really calm. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's just wait and see. And then like 2 minutes later, she's like in serious pain. And I'm like, okay, yeah, no, you're right. We're going. So we get to the hospital, and 14 minutes after arriving at the hospital, the baby was there.
No. You
It
almost
was
didn't make it.
insane. Huh? No,
Didn't make it.
like, if I had to take a crap, we would have missed it. you know, like, we would have had the baby in the car. 6 minutes later, we would have had the baby in the elevator,
Oh
you
my
know,
God. That's
like,
crazy, man.
I didn't even have time to, like, I set our bags down in the delivery room. She's in a wheelchair, and they're like, all right, we need to move you to the bed. And like, we moved her to the bed, and they're like, all right, you need you to lay down. And I'm like, wait, did you want to use the ball? Because I know you don't want to give birth on your back this time. And they're like, no, you just lay down. And she's like, I don't know how. So like, I feel like the one thing I did in the whole birthing process this time is I just jumped onto the bed, and I picked her up, and I like laid her down, because she was in so much pain. She didn't know how to move her body at that point. So
Yeah.
I laid her down. She starts screaming bloody murder. And the midwife is like, Heidi, he's right here. Your baby's here. Just push. So she pushed one time. Baby was born.
Oh my God, dude. That's
It
crazy.
was, it was like, yeah. And like, I'm trying to like capture all these moments, I'm trying to film it because like every other kid I've gotten like the moment that they were born. And this time, like, because my brain is always operating on sort of two different things, like what's happening right now, and also how can I capture this, for the memory of it and everything. And in the moment I was like, yeah, this isn't happening. I will film it as soon as it comes out. I will get the immediate after, but I can't get out of tripod right now. There's no place to like, yeah, I'm not going to go digging through my bag for a GoPro right now. We need to just be here and do this. So anyway, baby's born 6 minutes after getting to the hospital. And then they immediately realize he's not breathing quite right because they knew he swallowed meconium because they could see the meconium everywhere, which is meconium is like their first poop. It's like that
Right.
tarry black.
Right.
Yeah. So he basically pooped in the uterus or in the womb. Sorry, not in the uterus. He pooped in the womb, and then he ended up inhaling some of that, got into his lungs. So 2 minutes after his birth, we're now rushing him to the NICU because they can't get it all out. And then they're telling us they got to put him on they have to
Intubate.
intubate him, which
Yeah.
is, where they put the tube down his throat. And we're like, I'm trying to process all this because it's all happening so fast. And, but the doctor's saying, yeah, we need to intubate, I think, and I'm like, okay. And then, which basically means we couldn't hold him. He'd have to just be laying on his back with this tube down his throat for who knows how long. They can't even tell you. And I'm just kind of like processing it all, but there's a pacifier in his little crib with him, or his little plastic bassinet. And I just gave him the pacifier, and he immediately like took it and just started going to town on this pacifier. And the doctor and the nurse both saw that, and they were like, oh, well, he's obviously not struggling to breathe as much as we think he is, because he would never expel energy trying to suck on a pacifier if he's struggling to breathe. So let's just hold off on intubating for now and just leave him on the CPAP. So that ended up being like their saving grace of him not getting intubated, was that binky. So then, he just stayed on the CPAP. We ended up spending about 7 days in the NICU of him getting things sorted out. And then we finally got to bring him home.
And
It's
he's good.
wild though.
Good
He's
now.
good. He's on a low flow oxygen tube right now, which is like just a little whisper of extra oxygen. I think we probably have maybe one more week on that before he'll be completely off of it, but he's doing great. He's doing just fine. It is like a total hassle having to like carry this oxygen tank around, or like even just moving him, and the thing doesn't stay on his face. So you're constantly putting new strips of tape on his face just to keep it on there. It's a new experience for us, that's for sure.
Yeah. No kidding, man. And is Heidi doing good?
She's great. Like, I mean, the birth went so fast that, she didn't really get that worn out either, and because the baby was in trouble, she couldn't think about herself at all, so she got checked out of her hospital room, as soon as she could, 24 hours after,
Yeah.
because she was in the NICU the whole time. She never even went into her, the room after, I forgot what it's called, whatever room they give you after labor and delivery.
Yeah.
So
Rest in and heal up room, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
she didn't do that though. She
Cover.
just
Kept going.
he just went straight to the NICU. Yeah, as a mother would.
Unreal, man. I want to switch gears now that you have 4 kids. And what I would really love to do is give the men in the audience a day in the life of the dude dad. And what I mean by that is not the stuff that we see on the video,
Yeah.
right? But the real juggle, the real attempts at balance, right? When it comes to you and Heidi, and when it comes to you and your
Yeah.
kids. And as you just sort of think about that, what I'll tell you is I'm very open about dad edge and what goes on behind closed doors, the mistakes that are made, the face plants, the good things, the bad things. And what I'll tell you is that doing this work, while incredibly fulfilling, and I would not want to do any other work on the planet other than this, it also messes with me a little bit, in the fact that, like, I mean, I have an online course for patience called Creating More Patience. And there are times where I still lose my patience. And I know, and
Yeah.
I even know, because I taught this course, what is triggering me. I see it unfold as I lose my patience. I know exactly what's happening. And sometimes I don't get in front of it, and I'm like a freight train. I just can't stop it. And then after the fact, I'm like, crap. There were all the breadcrumbs. There was everything that was going on. I knew exactly what was happening, and I just didn't stop it. And then I recover and repair and all that. But what I've noticed by doing this work is, while it's so fulfilling, and I wouldn't have the marriage that I have today without dad edge. I wouldn't have the relationship with my kids that I do today without dad edge. But sometimes it's it's brutal. Sometimes I have the biggest symptoms, the biggest imposter syndrome that could fathom, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
if
real.
I don't know if you have the same experience or not.
Oh, for sure. I mean, there's times I feel like such a failure that I'm like, what am I doing? Like, how do I get to be a voice in this field when I'm, did this today or did that today or lost my temper or whatever. Um, yeah, for me it's with the older kids because that's just such a new world of like with the little kids, like I was just at the park the other day with our 2-year-old and our newborn, and I had this weird flashback because I was like, oh man, I just went back in time 5 years, back when I had just a 2-year-old and a newborn, and it just pushing one on the swing, checking on the other one, just keeping them both alive, making goofy faces at them, changing diapers. That's all it takes, right? You know, that part's easy. It's super easy to fall in love with fatherhood when your kids are so little and so innocent and so addicted to you, right? It's when they get a little bit older and they start having their own thoughts and opinions and wants, that it gets harder because they might not be exactly like you. They might have their own temper problems. They might get triggered by things that you do, and it becomes so much more complex. Um, that you're starting to walk on eggshells around your own children, trying to figure out like, okay, what does this kid need to understand what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah.
Like like screen time. Like we've got one kid that's addicted to video games, but we can tell when he has too much, when he plays video games too much, he has behavior problems, right? But he loves it. He loves it, so it's really hard to navigate, okay, how do I limit this time so that we can have better behavior from him without triggering him to have worse behavior because we're limiting it.
It's a delicate dance, without a doubt. I I was actually just having this conversation with my older two last night, and my older two are 17 and 15. And not to scare you, but I literally I drove my 17-year-old to high school today for the last time.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, and
Oh, because he's driving now, or
he's driving now. Yeah. So I wrote him a letter, and I read it to him in the parking lot this morning. And it was surreal, man. And it's funny, you talk about the 7-year-old, the 5-year-old, and the point that I want to make is that my 15-year-old and 17-year-old are, and even though they're teenagers, are easier than the 9-year-old and the 7-year-old, because
mm,
they're like little adults, they're like little human beings. And I will tell you that, I mean, I'm not objective, but they're really good human beings. Like they're not into all the dumb crap that their acquaintances are doing. They don't vape, they don't drink, they don't, they're faith-based, good Christian kids. Like, and of course they make mistakes and all that stuff, but they're not, ding dong ditching. They're not shoplifting. They're not vaping in the bathroom like some of their these other clowns that they go to high school with, right? They're good kids. So we were sitting there talking last night, and my 17-year-old says something along the lines of, he's like, my gosh, he's like, I look at you guys sometimes, you guys, meaning my wife and I, he's like, I don't know how you do it. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, there's four of us. Like, how do you do it? And I'm like, it's actually, I told him, I was like, it's actually not that hard. I was like, do you know what was harder? Is when you guys were little, to me anyway.
Mm,
Like, it was when you guys like were the 9, the 7, the 5, the 2-year-old, like
yeah.
basically the camp that you're in right now. I told him, I was like, that to me was way harder than the camp we're in now. I was like, I freaking love you guys as teenagers. Like, you're young men now. Like, we have young men conversations. Like, we hang out and throw the football and we do all these things. And, it's, I don't know. It's like when they're younger, because we were talking about my 7-year-old and how he was like doped up on Easter candy yesterday. We're like,
Hmm.
that's kind of hard because like at that age, like he's still very irrational. Like he's got a raw brain, like that frontal cortex
Yeah.
is not totally developed yet. So he's just like, everything is like an emergency. Everything's crazy. Right. And, I think personally that age range tested me more than teenagers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, here's hoping, man. They just get through this one little phase. Yeah, I mean, and it's still, there's still amazing moments and stuff.
Oh
There's
yeah.
just a lot of just head scratching of like my wife and I looking at each other and going like, I, I don't know what do we do? I don't know how to handle this. Like we've come at it from every which way, and but I think it's important to say those things out loud to other men, to other dads, to just on a public platform so that people know that like we struggle too, and that it's okay to struggle.
Oh, I lost you for a second.
Yes. Um, but I think it's important to say those things out loud to other dads, to other men on the public platform so that they know that we struggle too.
Yeah.
Um, even men that are focused on this on a daily basis still have things that they just don't are trying to figure out.
Yeah, I agree. And I want to get back to kind of these one segments at a time, which is you and Heidi.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys go about, despite busy schedules, 4 kids, under 7, how do you guys continue to elevate your relationship?
We do a date night every single week.
That's cool.
So I have a cousin that lives in town and she babysits for us every Wednesday night. And me and Heidi just, we go out for dinner, we go to Shields and just walk around. We just get out and spend some time, just the two of us. Um, Now that being said, now we have,
Keep losing you.
I'm not sure what's happening.
That's okay.
That being, excuse me, that being said, now we have a newborn. So we haven't went on our date night since the newborn came. The newborn will probably come with us for the first while. Because that's a whole nother deal to like, you know, have my 23-year-old cousin babysit 4 kids when one of them's a toddler and one of them's a newborn. Um, so we got to figure that out yet. But if it means that we have to get 2 babysitters every Wednesday, then by golly, we're going to get 2 babysitters every Wednesday so that we can keep having our date night, and keep getting that time, together. Because I think that to me is the one thing that really helps us.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, like our lives just become like the only thing that we have together is our children,
Yeah.
because they take so much energy that then that's all we're focused on, and that's all we get to really like talk about together. And that can that's not always as romantic or, intimate.
I totally agree with
Is it
that.
is it my connection or
I think so, yeah, but that's okay. You're only in and
uh,
out for like a second, so we're good. I want to ask you though. I love the fact number one, you guys do a weekly date night. Uh, when men come and do life with us and our mastermind and that kind of thing, and if their main, focus is marriage, they're like, "What can I do like right away?" And I'm like, "What you can do right away is start taking your wife out on a date night." I would say
mm-hmm.
if you can't do every week, do every other week. But here's the thing so Jessica and I try to do a date night every week, if not every other week for sure. But man, all you have to do is like look to your right and look to your left, and you see other married couples on date nights. And I can't even tell you like how many times I'll take notice to people, they're just like staring at each other. They're not even talking.
Yeah.
Or the best is they're sitting right across from each other and they're on their phones the whole time. I'm like, why even go out on a date? And
Yeah.
so like I know Jessica and I have our the magical things that keep the magic alive in our marriage when we're on our date nights through conversation. But I'm curious with you and Heidi, what are some things that you guys specifically do on your date nights, maybe even as it relates to conversation or anything like that? I know you kind of jumped in there. I was just asking
What what do you specifically do?
yeah, for like conversations and connections while you're on date nights.
I feel like date night usually ends up with like one of us just kind of spilling our guts with something that we're currently wrestling with, you
Really?
know?
Well,
Yeah, whether it be like work stuff or kid stuff or just, like I feel like Wednesday nights are usually when Heidi and I like just one of us gets like really opens up about something, and like the other one's just there listening to them process it. But I feel like that happens to us a lot where one of us is just like, this happened and this happened and this is how I'm feeling about that. I'm trying to figure that out. And the other one's just going, okay, So I think that's one thing that we do a lot is just, listen to each other process things out.
that's really cool. And you probably know this because you've been in the dad space and the man self-development space, even though you're making funny videos, is that the story I'm telling myself is you probably don't jump in and rescue her and solve all of her problems. You're probably a really fantastic listener.
Uh, depends on the day, because like definitely there's some times when I'll let her process it out, and there's other times when I try to play sort of like blunt, like I don't know how do I say this, like wake her up kind of mode where I'm like, you've been saying this same thing for months. Just face it now. Like this is what it is. Just face it. But yeah, so you kind of got to read the room and where we're at with the situation.
I hear that. It sounds like what you guys are really fantastic at is probably the friendship aspect of your marriage, which I think it's hard for some couples to wrestle with that. At the end of the day, we're friends, right? We have each other's
Mm-hmm.
back. We listen to each other. We talk to each other. I would really love to know, how do you elevate two other areas? One being, I would say the intimate part of your marriage. So and I'm not talking about the physical aspect of your marriage, but more like, hey, you're my friend, but you are also my wife, right? And we need to constantly cultivate and elevate the romantic side of our relationship, because if we let that go too, that's gonna be detrimental to the whole family. So we have that aspect, and then the other aspect is, how do we continue to elevate as parents together? One of the biggest fights that we always hear married couples go through is how they go about parenting styles. This person does this and this person does
Mm-hmm.
that, and they never really share that vision, meet in the middle, and they're always fighting over it.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Just disagreements and like how to approach situations. I think for us, it's like we definitely understand how to take different tactics for things, and like he's, I think we're far enough into this that for the most part, we've been able to try many different tactics on each kid in several different situations and kind of start to understand what works and what doesn't. And we both are good at acknowledging that. So if our tactic didn't work, but mine didn't work, but Heidi's did, then I go, okay, all right, I'll try your approach. You're getting more success that way. And sometimes neither of our approaches work. And then we just kind of scratch our heads together and have those conversations like, okay, well, what are we going to try now? What's our game plan? We need to be on the same page so that, we can provide consistency for them. Cause I think that's the biggest thing when these little minds is like, they need as much consistency from us as possible so they know what to expect. Because if we're constantly changing our playbook, then it just gets extremely frustrating for them because they just don't know what to expect.
Yeah. And they also know if the parents aren't aligned, how to, put one against the other. They know
Yeah.
what,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah. And there's definitely those times when you're just too tired and you'll just go, yeah, ask your mom, see what your mom thinks,
right. Right.
definitely passed a few things off
Yeah.
before.
Very cool, man. Well, I know you have a brand new book out.
Yes.
And for those of our guys who are watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hold up the book and let us know what the title is.
Uh, the new book, it's a children's book called Dad and the Recycling Bin Roller Coaster. It is the story of a dad who has the whole day to spend with his kids because his wife went shopping and she's likely going to be gone all day. It's definitely not based on a true story. Okay, it definitely is.
Right.
So basically he decides that he's going to build them this big project. Um, and it kind of like just it just kind of snowballs out of control as he continues to make the project bigger and bigger and bigger. It's a whole lot of fun and it's got a really sweet message at the end, which I'll just share with you because
Yeah,
I think
please
it's
do.
fun. So basically he like builds one thing, shows it to his kids, and his kids are all like, nah, not interested. No thanks. So then he moves on to the next thing and he builds another thing. And they're like, no thanks. So he builds another thing and he builds another thing. And they keep saying no, no, no. Until finally he's like, all right, I don't know what you want. No one's happy. I don't know what you want. And then his daughter, the middle child, comes over and tugs his pant leg and says, well, Dad, you won't fit in the roller coaster. And then the oldest says, yeah, and I want to learn how to use the drill. And then the baby says, gabagooboo. And then translation, we just want to hang out with you, Dad.
Yeah.
So, the whole message being that, we don't need to create these big lavish these big lavish experiences for our kids. We
Yeah.
just need to spend time with them. You don't have to go to Disneyland. You could just stay home and, build stuff out of cardboard. When they're this young, they don't need all the crazy bells and whistles. They just want you. And if you give them that, that's all they really need.
I
Doesn't
heard,
mean you shouldn't still like take the trip or whatever. But I think the reason that we take the trip is more for us as parents to get out of our own element so that we can then have the space to focus on our kids. Where like if we're at home, we're distracted by the crabgrass in the front yard or the gutter that's falling off or the work that we haven't gotten to yet. And we give ourselves excuses to not spend time with our kids. Where if we go on the trip, then we're like, okay, this week is all about you. Yeah.
yeah, I heard a quote that said kids spell Lovetime. And I agree with you. A lot of us feel this pressure cooker of like, well, if I'm going to spend time with my kids, it's got to look like this. Right.
Mm-hmm.
In actuality, before you and I jumped on to hit record today, I was letting you know that I took my 8-year-old to your neck of the woods, which is in Fort Collins, Colorado. a year ago, and we had so much fun. You know, we hiked and we fished, and it was a blast. And yesterday, I took him up to the local high school that's 3/4 of a mile from our house, and we played soccer together. We shot goals. We've actually done that the past 2 days. And I've asked him, you know, over the past couple of days, hey, what's been the highlight of your week this past week? You know, just making conversation. He's like, playing soccer. And I'm surprised to hear that, but I'm not surprised because like we have a good time. But I'm also surprised. I'm like, because I have to remind myself to a 9-year-old that's really all it takes.
Mhm.
It's not these extravagant things that we're doing. It's literally taking 30 to 60 minutes and kicking a soccer ball with them. And just that's it. That's all you need is a ball and a goal, and you're good.
Yeah.
Right. So I love
Yeah.
that, man.
100%.
Where
Um,
so if a man were to pick up the book, and obviously as a kid's book, reading it to their kids, what do you think is one of the most powerful messages that the dad is conveying reading that story?
um, I mean, just like it, because it's fun. It's interesting because like it's a children's book, but I also feel like it's a book that's meant to talk to the parents as they read it, you know, that they're kind of like getting that message too. Um, you know, and the good thing is too is that like if you're reading books to your kids, you're kind of like that's all you kind of need, you know. It's just even that little time is such a good example of the small things that we can do with our kids that mean a great deal to them.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, in terms of what it means to the kids, I think, you know, I think that they're extremely impressionable too. You know, they're gonna hear that and be like, yeah, no, I do want to spend time with dad. That's, you know, like I think that's just a good message for everybody.
I agree. I've written two children's books myself, and it has been the goal was to, you know, like, so for instance, one is Daddy will always love you and protect you. And it's all about just a day in the life of a dad and some of the things
Hmm.
that he's probably wrestling with, and then also the day in the life of a kid and what they're wrestling with. And then the fact that the foundation of who we are as parents for these kids is like literally like, I'm always here to love you. I'm always here to protect you no matter what. And no matter what you do, I'm always going to be that person. And it's really to help a dad with that message. And I love the
Yeah,
fact that you that there's this underlying tone of that too, of like, hey, at the end of the day, I just want to spend time with you, right? No matter
yeah.
what it looks like.
That's a good message though too, especially when you're dealing with a kid with some behavioral issues that like, you know, like our son has the tendency of like he'll freak out, have like a meltdown, say a bunch of like really mean things to us, and then like we slowly kind of like coax him out of it, and then he feels bad, and then he starts saying bad things about himself because he feels bad for things that he said to us,
Right.
you know. So like that message of constantly telling him, hey, it doesn't matter, I'm still gonna love you, I'm still here for you, I still will always protect you, is so important to like constantly put over them, even when you know you don't feel like you need to, you probably do.
Yeah. I agree. Cause at the end of the day, that's, you know, the am I good enough? Right. And
Yeah,
you know, is dad ever going to think I'm not? Is dad ever going to leave me? Is dad ever not going to love me? Same with mom too.
yeah,
And the message is of course not.
yeah.
Um,
Actually I found that recently, like some of my old content of like when it was just when we just had the one kid, and like I've seen my kids start watching those, and my wife looked at me, and I was thinking the same thing, but she looked at me, she's like, this is really cool that he's watching this, this is got to be really good for him, because it's just these videos of me just like talking about how much I love him and how much I'm proud of him, and he's just sitting there now as a 7-year-old watching this and hearing his dad say all this stuff about him, you know, that aren't things that we necessarily are having on a daily conversation anymore between the two of us, you know, because if I say something like that to him now, he'll have some sort of like little uh you know, silly remark or whatever. You know, he doesn't know how to take that in right now. But
you know, the really cool thing about having a platform like yours is it's truly legacy work, right?
Yeah.
I mean, your kids, you and I kind of we live in the here and now.
Mm-hmm.
We're creating content, we're doing what we're doing, but your son who's 7 is eventually going to be 27.
Mm-hmm.
He is going to like literally have an arsenal of content of watching his dad, right? Of watching himself growing up, and the cool things about it, the tough things about it, the things that were humorous about it. And it's like just this beautiful record, I think, of I mean, I think that's exactly what it is. It's this beautiful record that our kids can look back on, of things that we've gone through. Um,
Yeah.
I actually, as we wrap up here, I would really love to know what is on the horizon for. That's my 150-pound pony slash dog, by the way, barking in the background. But what I'd really love to know is what is the next evolution for Dude Dad and your videos and the content that you're going to be creating.
That's a great question. We it's evolved over time. I feel like right now we're sort of on the forefront of a new era, and it is still trying to kind of figure out what that is and where that's going. Um, you know, Unfortunately, like now a lot more of it is based off of the platforms and what works well on the platforms, because it's not just a hobby anymore. Now it has become a job, not just for me, but my two best friends and a couple other people. So I don't have the luxury of like doing just the things that I'm really passionate about, or the things that I love, or like I still want to infuse that in wherever I can, but I also have to make sure that everybody's family is going to get fed. You know what I mean? And that's the sort of a weird part of it. Once you make your hobby into a career, that then in a way you sometimes get like a little bit cornered into what's going to work the best, what's going to make sure that we can keep doing this, and that nobody has to get laid off. um, so short forms are going to be a lot bigger thing. Um, there's going to be a lot more baby content and toddler content coming up because we've got those again. Um, we're going to try to do more builds again, but they just take a lot of time. But I'm building a backyard roller coaster this month. So that should be fun. Um,
There's not many
sort of,
people I know that could ever say that the statement you just did.
yeah, we're going to build a backyard roller coaster to promote the book. Um, and I've been thinking about it way too much lately. I think I dreamt about it last night, just trying to figure out where in the yard I'm going to put it that'll make the most sense. Yeah, so that's coming up. Um, I think we're going to start a podcast. Still trying to figure that out. So there's a lot on the horizon. There's gonna be a lot more content from Heidi. That's been that's been brewing for a while, as the more and more of our female audience just loves Heidi. We're like, well, we should really like do more with her, and she's starting to really get to a place where she feels like she does have a voice and that she does have things to say, and it's been really fun to watch her discover that, because for the longest time she would always push this thing off and be like, that's your thing, I'm not a content creator, I don't do that. And now to see her like, you know off on her own with their little ring light set up, making little videos about pregnancy and stuff. It's been pretty fun to watch her get like kind of excited about it and start to like understand that like she can, you know, put some good into the world through making this content.
That's really cool, man. And a backyard roller coaster. That is huge. Well, I'm excited for the next evolution for you, man. I'm obviously a huge fan of you. I love what you're doing in the world. I think fathers need the outlet that you create, which is just adding some fun, some humor, not taking ourselves so seriously. And I think you're doing amazing work. And just applaud you and honor you. And I want to make sure that all the guys can also find the best place to connect with you and also get a copy of your book if they want to.
Sure. I mean, just look up Dude Dad on all socials, and Dad and the Recycling Bin roller coaster will be out in stores May 16th, everywhere books are sold. But you can just pick it up on dudedad.com if that's easier.
Yeah. Not to worry, guys. We're at dudedad.com. We'll put that in the show notes. And it actually comes out this week. So I highly encourage you guys. The book comes, if you're listening to this podcast on May 14th, it comes out in 2 days. Make sure you put this on your calendar. Go grab a copy. If you're listening to this podcast a little bit after that, then it's already out and you can go grab a copy. We'll have all the links in the show notes. All you have to do is head on over to thedadedge.com/422 for this show. Again, thedadedge.com/422. Taylor, dude, it's always, I said Taylor and dude in the same sentence there. It's always such a pleasure, man, talking to you. And I just thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Larry. You as well.
Appreciate you, man. Gentlemen, like I said, head on over to thedadedge.com/422. We'll have everything in the show notes for you. And above all else, go out, live legendary. Take care.